Hey everyone, welcome to the second episode of Tide Talk's newest show, Double Pivot. I'm Andrew and that's Timmy, and we're your holding midfielders tonight. If you don't know us, we're just two guys from Section 205 who pretend to know ball. But for you actual ball knowers out there, we'll let you guess who's the deep playing playmaker and who's the destroyer. Before we get this started, if you're watching us on YouTube, then please take a second to subscribe to our channel, hit that thumbs up button, and it really helps Tide Talk to get to more people. You'll also be able to find us on your main Tide Talk feed on your favorite podcast applications like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If you're listening there, give us a 5-star rating and a review. With that out of the way, let's cozy up. Let's grab your espresso and let's get started. As I mentioned, I'm here today with my co-host and fellow Eurosnob, Timmy. He'll be breaking down the format for tonight's show. How's it going, Timmy?
Yeah, pretty good, Andrew. I think this is the flu game for both of us. We both said we were feeling a little under the weather. You were just popping some cough drops as we were warming up here. I had a massive bowl of pho for dinner, which actually, I feel pretty much fully rejuvenated. That was fantastic. It was really hot on a hot day, but I actually do think it was what my body needed, so I'm not complaining.
Oh, I love that. I've only had that in San Francisco, and I haven't really looked for a spot around here, so I'm going to take some notes afterwards from where you got that from.
I got notes, but I have this one was homemade, given from a family member. We're very lucky. It was freaking delicious, but
that's amazing.
Yeah,
so good.
So you want to just talk about pho the entire time?
Yeah, we can do that. That's pho talk now.
Yeah.
Actually, before you get into tonight's show, I do want to say thank you for all the feedback that everyone's given us so far. This is, as I said, our second episode. First episode went pretty well. You never know if anyone ever listens or takes the time to watch those things, but we ended up getting a lot of positive feedback, some suggestions, some ideas, a couple of which we've integrated into tonight's episode. So I really appreciate everyone that took the time to listen and watch last time. And please keep that feedback coming. This is a pretty fluid show. We're not sticking to the same format every time. So really love to hear more of your ideas and tell us what you think worked well and what doesn't. So really appreciate it. Keep going.
Yeah, completely agree. And so for those, whether you listened to the first episode or this is your first time listening, we're thinking of this as kind of a Rhode Island FC variety show. So every 6 weeks or so, Andrew and I are preparing anywhere from 2 to 3 different segments. They're always going to be kind of up-to-date topical things, maybe 10 to 15 minutes each, where we'll just kind of break down different aspects of the team. So the 3 segments that we have prepared for tonight, like Andrew mentioned, a couple of these were user-submitted questions. So first, we're going to look at some of the trends that we've been seeing in the offense over the last few games, really focusing on a lot of the games in June, and then what we think has looked better over the last 2 games, and especially focusing on Noah and Maxi's performances. We're going to run through a game that we kind of created where we're building a 7-a-side Rhode Island FC team with a predetermined budget, and we'll go into the rules on that when we get to that portion of the show. And then lastly, as teased in episode 1, we're going to do an alumni update on the players who were with Rhode Island FC last season and have joined other teams as of 2025. Unless there's anything I'm missing, Andrew, I think we can just jump right into our first segment here. So we're calling this Tactical Shift. Like we mentioned, this is something that our good friend Martin, fellow ball knower from Section 205, suggested to us, and we kind of adapted the question. We took some liberties, I would say. The question was kind of about Maxi and Noah's positioning, and if those 2 players can really gel together the way that we were deploying them both through the beginning of this season, and was that getting the best out of both of those players? I think that is a really common talking point that a lot of fans around the team have had throughout this season. So we just kind of took some footage and again of some things that have either been frustrating us that we think haven't worked well for the first half of this, and then we've also pulled some clips from the last 2 games, the 4-1 win over Portland and the 1-1 draw with Birmingham, and some shifts that have happened that we think are actually helping the team to improve. So I think Andrew is going to kick us off with a handful of clips from June of things that haven't been working. And I think a lot of this will look very familiar to the folks who have been watching the team for the first 3 months of the season.
Yeah, it's a good lead in, and the footage that I have is it's actually all from the Sacramento game, but I think a lot of the stuff that I will be showing is really present in the other games. The reason that the other games have footage there is because they're either too far back for ESPN to still have the replay up, or they were on the CBS Golazzo network, so I couldn't get that replay. So really, what I wanted to do was take clips from the Miami game, from the Sacramento game, and from some of these other more frustrating offensive output games to kind of
Louisville.
yeah, Louisville was the other one. But unfortunately, Sacramento was the only really good example where we could show this. The last couple games, as you mentioned, those are available, but this is really where we're starting to see some of the tactical shift, and we can kind of get into that. So really, my part here will be looking at some of those trends of why things weren't really working offensively. For this first clip, excuse my cough and my funny voice here. My first clip here is from early on in the Sacramento game. It's a full minute long, so it's going to play on 2x speed. And for those of you listening on the podcast, we'll do our best to kind of talk through what we're seeing here. But good reason to watch the YouTube if you're not already into doing that for the Tie Talk shows. So here we go. Ninth minute here. So like I said, on 2x speed. And what you see is a lot of movement of the ball really along the perimeter, along the back line, really searching from left to right. And you can see this whole segment takes a minute. And the only time you see the ball advance is when it goes to a defensive holding midfielder that's coming in to really relieve pressure from the center back to give him an outlet to pass the ball to quickly go back to another defender. So it's going back and forth and back and forth. And really what they're looking for the most part, seems to be seams along the edges. And then you can see in the clip here where this usually ends up is a bomb to one of the corners to get to one of the wingers. So I think what we're going to see here throughout the sequence of these 6 or 7 clips that I have, all of these sequences that they have offensively tend to end in one of 3 different ways. They'll either end like the one I just showed you, where they'll move the ball around for a while, then ultimately just try to kick it to a corner with Quizera or Noah there and hope they can come down with it and do something with it. Or they'll move it to the Quizera or Noah on the ground and then basically ask them to beat a man one-on-one because there's no one really in the middle that's helping to play off of them. So there's a lot of one-on-one work that they need to do, which they both struggled with this year. Or all of this passing eventually leads to an errant pass or a miscommunication, and then they end up losing the ball. So what we see is a lot of slow moving, slow developing ball movement that's really happening along the defensive line and starts to go up the wings. And then eventually someone just says, F it, there's a forward out there somewhere, and just dumps the ball into the corner and hopes that something works out. Every once in a while it does. And I feel like a lot of the opportunities that we do end up getting on net are a result of that. But we keep complaining about there really aren't many true offensive chance creations that they're excuse me, that they're producing. And that's largely it. These are low percentage things, right? Dumping the ball to the corner there, it's not very often you're going to come down with it. This next clip here in the 25th minute, you can see same thing. Restart from Jackson, plays it to the defenders. Look how slow this is. So what you would see from defenders when they're moving the ball around back and switching the point of attack is that they're looking to stretch out the defense and make them shift into new positions, hopefully stretch them out to be able to attack them in spaces that weren't there when they first started the sequence. And what they're doing with playing so slowly here in these clips, and you can see this ends, again, dumping it down the sideline, both Chico and Noah to occupy that same space. They make that same run. It goes nowhere. So they're moving the ball around really slowly, which doesn't open up those avenues, which means they really can't attack the middle. So on one hand, moving the ball across the defensive line and going backwards isn't a bad thing. And Ryan actually talked about that in the last episode of Tie Talk, where it is something you see very often. But you need to do it with more pace. And if you don't do it with pace, what happens is the defense can retain their shape and they can just slowly move over from block to block. They're not being put in stressful positions where they're being stretched and then you go and attack that middle. And that's the biggest issue that I have with this offensive setup with RIFC is that they are too slow. Their tempo is too slow. And when the tempo is too slow, it makes it really easy to defend because all the defense has to do is keep its shape and just shift a little bit at a time. And then ultimately that bomb goes into the corner. And as long as you can take that down, you're in good shape defensively. This next clip.
Two things that I'll just throw out quickly on that. One is the thing about it seeming like the ball is only out wide in the attacking third. Like there is a lot of data supporting that. There's a great Blue Sky account called USL Analytics that puts out a lot of advanced statistics, for more advanced statistics than you see for anywhere else for USL. But there's pass maps, and they stack two on top of each other, and I think it's usually passes into the final third and passes in the final third, and pretty consistently. And in a lot of the performances that you mentioned, you can see our pass percentages out on the wings is like 40% on the left, 40% on the right, 20% central if we're lucky. And the team that we're playing will have like 30% on each wing and 40% central. So that is a data proven problem that we're spending a ton of time with the ball on the wings in not very dangerous positions. And the teams we're playing against are having it centrally in our attacking third, which almost always leads to a good scoring chance.
Right. And ideally what you want to do is work all the channels, but particularly if you work it up in through that middle channel, you're able to then, if you're moving the ball quickly, send it back out to the wings because they now have space to operate in. When they're only operating along the back line and then up the edges, the playmakers, particularly Quizera and Noah, aren't in a position where they can go with a full head of steam and attack an empty space because they typically have people on them right away because of how long it took for that ball to get to them and how slow that buildup was to get there. Brian wrote a blog, it was probably about a month ago, called "The Missing Middle" or something along those lines, and he emphasized this a lot, and it was really well done in that they're kind of just bypassing the middle. So you can see even here, there's balls over the top, there's balls that cross the field. The middle isn't being utilized. They're just trying to attack the wings, but they're not doing it in a way that's quick enough that really allows them to work into space. This next clip here, this is the one I just showed. So here in the oh no. Sorry, here's the 27th minute. This was a bomb by Jackson Lee on a goal kick. The ball bounced around a bit. You can see that RIFC comes up with it. They have an opportunity to attack quickly on the wing. They tried to get it to Clay. First attempt didn't work. Second one did. But let me rewind this a little bit too. You can see here, once Clay receives the ball, take a look at the two players in RIFC kind of in the middle there. So there's Chico up top. I can't really tell who's in the middle, but just look at their runs. The second Clay receives the ball, they run away from him. They run away from him. There's 6 players between him, 6 defenders between him and the nearest player that he can advance the ball to. That requires them to go backwards because he can't run past 3 people. And then they restart it again. You can see there Clay almost tried to send it back across the field, didn't have it. So they go backwards again and they recycle and they restart. And this is a common theme. Every time that they play way too conservatively, when they have an opportunity to attack space, when they have an opportunity to create a chance, even if it's a little bit risky, they opt not to. They turn around, they pass it backwards, and they start all over again. And that's why you quite often see the stats at the end of these games where they have a lot of possession. They have a lot of possession in the final third. They might even have some weak, some decent shot numbers, but all of them are weak shots. They're never in dangerous opportunities, and they really don't have many big chances that they're creating because they play way too conservatively and, most importantly, way too slow. The ball just goes way too slow, and they're not really attacking with enough tempo. Here in the 57th minute or 58th minute, this throw-in in the final third goes backwards. Then you see it plays square, and you can see just how slow it takes. Like, look how slow these players are moving. No one's making runs. And again, I'll stop right here. This player on the wing has the ball. He only has options backwards. There's no one really checking to the ball. There's 3 defenders there. So that causes them to have to pretend to make a move, go backwards. Again, look how slow this is. Like, look at the defense. No one's running. No one's being stretched. No one's being stressed. All you have as available passes are players behind the ball. So that ball then goes backwards. Here we go to Mabika. Mabika's looking to do something with it. Send it over to Aldair. Aldair, misplaced pass because him and Quizera are on the same page. This is a pattern. It keeps doing it. There's not enough movement. There's not enough tempo. If we go to the next one, here in the 68th minute, RIFC receives the ball. They start moving quickly. Now you look here, Quizera gets the ball at midfield, immediately has to turn around backwards. So is that because there's not enough players checking to the ball? If I go backwards here, he's kind of all by himself. He has a player in front of him. He has a player behind him. And he immediately looks to go sideways. Like, you can tell there really isn't an opportunity to advance the ball. He has to go backwards, and then they reset. The next clip here, 85th minute, they're now losing 2-0. Free kick, put some pressure in the box, and they retrieve the ball. I'm going to go back a little bit here again. And on this outlet pass right here, I think that was Maxi that received the ball. You have 1, 2, 3 RIFC players that are in positions to then immediately pounce back on Sacramento when they're in this vulnerable state. And instead of playing that ball square, they play the conservative ball back to Jackson. Jackson then passes it to a nearest defender. That defender then bombs it into the corner looking for something, and they ultimately lose the ball. So they never look to take risky passes either square or forward in tempo in a way that puts stress on the defense. The defense always has an opportunity to reset and ultimately regain their shape if there's even a shape to regain, because they're able to just kind of stay in that block. And I think teams have done that where they just know that they can play in their block shape and they don't really have to run all that much. They just have to stay in there and just kind of shift left and right as Rhode Island shifts left and right. We have one more clip here. This is a play in the 88th minute. Again, down 2-0. Rhode Island receives the ball and it regains it in midfield. It looks like they start to push the ball a little bit forward. Granted, the 88th minute, down 2-0. The second the ball gets to the wing, play is dead. Again, only options backwards. So the play is backwards. The play is backwards again to the defender. They try to pinch it forward. Now Quezera gets the ball. Let's take a look here as I stop it. Look at the nearest RIFC player here. He has, I don't know if that's Mabika that's there, kind of like square backwards a little bit. Everyone else is basically lining up in front of the box, hoping to get a cross. And that cross from Quezera, most of the time he doesn't get it. He's not a very good crosser of the ball. And even if he was, he has a player going out to him, which causes Quezera to be in a position where he has to beat him one-on-one. And even if he does beat him one-on-one, there's a second defender there. And I think what I've seen a lot here is that even when they move the ball to the wings, where it's nowhere Quezera, they have the midfielder and the defender both move out there. And then it makes it really difficult for either one of those guys to be able to beat their men, because they're immediately put in positions where they have to beat multiple people to be able to do something with the ball. And you can see Quezera tries to take the first guy on, can't get past him. So those are all the clips I had, but I think the biggest thing I want to emphasize here is the pace of play and then not attacking the middle. And I do think that, and this kind of transitions to the next segment for Timmy, a big reason why they're not playing in the middle is because they don't really have the playmakers to be able to do something with the ball in the middle. The only time in these clips that we saw some passes into the middle was when Clay went back to receive the ball, but the intention in each of those examples was not for Clay to receive the ball, turn and look for somebody. It was always there when they recognized that there was some sort of press situation where the defender needed help and needed an extra option in this triangle passing system. You go back, he receives the pass, immediately outlets it to the other defender. So it's just a way to move the ball around in the back line. He basically goes out to help out the defense. It's never to turn upfield. A large part of that, I think, is because the best person that can do that is Maxi, but Maxi's been playing in this advanced position. And that's really going to get into what Timmy's going to talk about here, but they've bypassed the middle because the people that can do stuff in the middle are too far away. And they really just keep kicking the ball into the corners, try to boot it up to Deco, who can knock it down every now and then. But really, the lack of pace, the lack of tempo, and then the lack of playmakers in the middle of the field have led to a situation where they just retain a lot of the ball, but it's mostly mundane, toothless possession, and the team is the defense is never really stressed. They're never really put in positions where RFC can go and attack them. It's just crazy to me, just to kind of put a bow on this, how much we spent in the offseason building up the roster in the midfield. Like we talked about how this was midfield FC. We kept just adding midfielder options. And yet we're sitting here before this latest tactical shift talking about how there's no midfield. How everything just goes out to the wings. It's just mind-blowing to me how they haven't been able to figure this out sooner to be able to get the ball moved around faster. So that kind of takes me over to Timmy, who's going to take over from here.
I'll jump right into the clips. So got a couple from the Birmingham game, and we were not perfect in Birmingham. Against Birmingham in Rhode Island. I thought it was a pretty frustrating performance overall, but some of the symptoms of what Andrew's talking about, I mean, one that I'll point to is for a lot of those performances that you were mentioning, our center backs led the team in touches and accurate passes. Since moving to, I mean, really the change that happened starting with the Portland game is we dropped Maxi and Clay into a double pivot, which is basically the both of them playing as like box to box midfielders. So they're not truly an attacking midfielder. They're not truly a holding midfielder. They're kind of splitting the difference and have the freedom really to cover almost any spot on the pitch that kind of requires them. And then with that, we've taken Noah off of the wide spots in the wing and are using him as like a second striker / number 10, meaning like the creative, dedicated, central attacking midfield role. And with those changes, so against Birmingham, instead of one of our center backs or both of our center backs leading the team in touches and passes, top touches on the team were Clay, Quizera, and Maxi, which is, if you asked me for the blueprint for a game that I thought we were probably doing well in, I would say Clay and Maxi having 2 of the 3 most touches on the team. So that's a positive sign, even when the performance wasn't that great. I'll jump into the clips, which starts with a Maxi ball recovery, which is just a little bonus here. You really only get that because he's playing so deep in the midfield here, but that's not the point of this clip. So Maxi recovers back to the defense. He gets the ball back, plays it out to Rio, moving pretty quickly. So he immediately has this opening, which he hits Noah in a relatively central position. He's not all the way out wide, who kind of taps it on to Dikwa. I don't think they executed this one perfectly, but you'll see multiple examples through these clips of just that little interplay that's able to exist between the two of them because they're playing in closer proximity to each other without completely overlapping. This does lead to a Noah chance on goal, which is very similar to the chance and the goal that he actually ends up scoring shortly after. Let's see the Noah shot here, which was, again, some link-up play with Dikwa. He sends it a little bit wide. But we go to the next clip, which is going to be loading a little bit slow. It's going to be it starts with a Maxi long ball. Most of you probably remember it because this was pretty recent. So already moving much more quickly, and I can tell it's playing a little bit choppy, so I'll just kind of describe the play here, which is, I think it comes off a throw-in to Jackson, immediately gets it to a central defender, who immediately gets it to Clay. Clay, for a lot of this game, was either carrying the ball or looking for an opportunity to get it to Maxi quickly. So we weren't dinking it around between the fullbacks and the center backs. They were really quickly moving it into midfield and looking for Clay or Maxi to make a play to either get it progressive out wide or up through the middle.
Timmy, do you want to go back to me sharing the screen? Maybe we let ball go to.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you want to try that? Yeah.
All right,
that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's definitely being a bit choppy here, so bear with us, folks. All right, so is this playing better? This was the first one you were describing, right?
Yep. So yeah, you can jump to the second clip, and I'm just gonna talk through them quicker. Okay. So Jackson, central defense, is gonna go to Clay, straight to Maxi, and again they're playing deep. They're almost in the back line. How deep they are. Immediate long ball to Chico, who gets a little flick on or quick interplay with Noah because Noah's in that central position, which is kind of one of the points, the main points that we've been trying to make here, which is, I mean, that clip hits on so many of the points that we're trying to make, honestly, which is they're moving the ball faster. They're moving the ball centrally. Maxi's playmaking from the deep position, and Noah and Chico have each other to play off because Noah's playing in the central position. Like, that goal almost highlights, it almost neutralizes all of the points that we were just saying we've been frustrated about.
Yeah, and just to go back here, I think when you have both Maxi and Clay here too, it also stretches out the defense a bit because both of them are players that are capable of breaking lines. So they can't just sit back and wait for a central midfielder to come to them. They do have to stretch out a little bit, and that opens up more space for Noah to be able to do more things in terms of runs and being able to do things creatively. So that knockdown from Chico perfectly set up Noah because he had space to kind of operate in as well. All right, we'll go to your next clip.
Yep. So this one, it's basically build-up play or progressive play happening around the edge of the final third, but it's not moving around our center backs. It was Maxi carrying the ball across the field there. There was a cross opportunity that happens, but but I think there's 4 players in the box when we play the cross in. Thank you for playing it again. So you're going to see Maxi carry the ball across the field here. Again, instead of it being with our center backs, the ball gets out wide pretty quickly, and then it's got to be Quizera or Aldair. It's a bit hard to see, and there's 3 guys in the box. Rebound goes to Brito. I think he made the right decision shooting there, but he also had Clay and Maxi relatively open at the top of the box, which again is partially happening because of their positioning, and Maxi's receiving the ball facing the goal a lot more often when he's playing a little bit deeper, including when the ball's being cleared out and Maxi's the one receiving that pass and getting it right back into attack, like very quickly in a lot of instances. So here Maxi is aligned with the central defenders, breaks 2 lines with a ground pass to Dikwa, who tries another little flick on to Noah. So again, in this particular instance, the pass doesn't come off, and you can play it again if you want, Andrew, just to have a visual. But like, these are the kind of things that they generally weren't doing previously. So again, playing quick through Maxi, playing straight through the middle, and Dikwa actually having somebody to try to play a quick layoff to, because Noah is playing that second striker, creative, attacking midfield role. Here, another cross with 4 guys in the box. The rebound goes out to Clay, who plays it to Maxi. This should have been Maxi's second assist in this game against Portland. So yeah, if you don't mind playing it again. Again, a cross with four men in the box, which is something we haven't seen much of this season. But I think more importantly is like Clay and Maxi facing goal, recovering the ball and recycling possession, facing goal. Maxi has about 3 options of a forward pass to make there, because Noah and Dikwa are both making a run. Noah's attracting at least 2 of the central defenders, and it's also just an incredible pass from Maxi, which I'm not sure he would have had the space and vision to do this from the positions he was picking up previously.
I think that's the big takeaway here. Having Clay and Maxi be in positions where both of them are capable of picking out passes or at least breaking lines, but Maxi having him be further back and seeing everything in front of him to be able to pick out that pass. And he has Clay right next to him as an outlet, and the 2 of them being able to play off of each other is a pretty dangerous thing for the defense. It's like pick your poison there. But having Maxi be further back to receive the ball, to play off of Clay, who's pretty sure-footed, right? He knows if Clay gets the ball, he can go back there, receive it. They can turn upfield, and they see everything in front of them too. Whereas in the old setup, if this ball were in this position, this would be Maxi at the edge of the box looking for the ball, and there'd be no one really there to be able to provide that to him.
Totally. And yeah, that's the last clip there. I mean, I think we're saying I think we're reaching really similar conclusions, and this is somewhat spontaneous because we didn't have a chance to review each other's clips ahead of doing this segment. But I think we're reaching similar conclusions. I guess what I'm like, what's it going to look like this weekend? We kind of have no idea. We had the really good performance against Portland with this kind of new-ish look offense, and then an okay-ish maybe performance against Birmingham.
Yeah, and I think that the big difference between the two, the biggest difference between the two is just the level of competition. Obviously, I think it would be foolish for us to not acknowledge the fact that Portland is a USL League One team, and they rotated their squad because they had a midweek league game that they had to worry about too. So a lot of it is the level of competition. But it could be because of the level of competition that they played with more pace and tempo. And I think that's what didn't really happen throughout the entirety of that Birmingham Legion game, where I think the concept was there in terms of where their positioning was, but I think that they were too slow to execute those passes. So they did work down the center channel more often. They did have these positions that we talked about and we showed in these clips. The problem is they were still too slow to move the ball around. And I think that gets back to them playing too conservatively. I do think that they are afraid or not willing to be risky. And I do think last year, in the beginning part of the year, that's largely how they played too. They dominated possession. They were able to create more, but they were a little bit more conservative. And I remember it felt like every game was either a scoreless draw or a shootout. It felt like they could toggle one, but not both. They could either play offensively but give it up on the defensive end, or they could play defense but not score. Eventually, they figured out that balance. And it hasn't really quite worked for them here. Like, they don't give up a ton defensively. There's a lot of boneheaded plays that do happen that lead to goals, but it's not like they're conceding a lot. Part of the reason they're not conceding a lot is because they're playing so conservatively. I, as a fan, and based on where this team is now and knowing the level of talent that they have, would rather them play riskier soccer and just see what happens. Like put yourself out there more. You might concede, but if it leads to more chance creation, hopefully we can outscore them. And I do remember when this team was first being formed, there was a lot of conversation from Coach Cano, from I think even Brett Johnson early on, where they were talking about we want to play an entertaining style of soccer. We might give up 3 goals, but we're going to score 4. I remember that being in an interview before the season started last year. Obviously, no coach wants to give up 3 goals. They have their donuts for a reason if they have the shutouts. But I think that they've swung too far in the other direction where this conservative style, when they have the ball, of just going backwards and playing too slowly, just puts them in positions where they're one defensive mistake away from being behind and they don't have what it takes to be able to catch back up. So I'm hoping that what we've seen in these next 2 games with this the last 2 games with this tactical shift, that they can start building off of this and work a lot faster in their buildup of play and start to create more opportunities.
Yeah, totally agree. And I guess I'll just add to that, like specifically on Noah and Maxi. Like, I do feel pretty strongly that the changes are getting the best out of both of those players. I think that doesn't fix everything. I think we still need some players back, which is going to create some interesting conversations, honestly, when players like Ibarra and JJ are back. But I do think that this new shape is getting the best out of Maxi and Noah, which are 2 of the most important players to get the best out of. Like, I still think our wing play is kind of sketchy at times. Like, there's a lot of room for improvement. I don't think we've fixed the offense, but I do think that these changes that we started making with the Portland game have moved the offense in the right direction and are definitely, in my opinion, getting better performances out of both Noah and Maxi.
Yeah, which is critical. The win play, I think, is definitely the biggest thing that still needs to be addressed, but we're heading in the right direction. Yeah,
for sure. So I'm attempting. No, I don't want the screen share back. It made me freeze. Let me give it back to you.
Immediately. Cool. All right. So I'll kick it over to you to transition to our next segment. And here we go.
Awesome. So this is a kind of quick-ish game that we sort of came up with. This is a format you might have seen on like Instagram or elsewhere. I've definitely seen it with like food items. So this is 7-a-side. We've built a grid and
I'm shocked that you saw something with food.
It's like my entire feed, to be perfectly honest. But so we've got our grid here. We've assigned like a value to each player in the team, and each of us have built out our 7-a-side team, meaning like if you were playing with 7 players, including a keeper, and we each have $21 to build our 7-a-side team. And you have to have a goalkeeper on the team, no cheating in that regard. And I'm just going to quickly read through the players for anyone who's maybe listening or can't see as clearly. Like, we both had trouble seeing the graphic as well. So, and it's not like you have to have one player from each dollar value. You just have a budget of $21 to do as you please. We're going to post the graphic up. We hope that other people maybe want to participate, build their own 7-a-side lineups. Would love to hear, as 2 competitive guys, would love to hear who you think built the better roster and who would actually win if Andrew's and my roster went up against each other. I have a feeling
we haven't seen each other's rosters yet, too. So I'm actually really curious to see what you put together.
I'm dying to see yours. I have a feeling that they're going to be more similar than we would have thought they would be.
Probably.
But yeah, so let's go from $1 up. So for $1, you can get any of Will Meyer, Hugo Bacharach, Taimu Okiyoshi, Kevin Vang, and Cole Dewhurst. For $2, yeah, it's also, it's the young, relatively unproven players. For $2, we have Isaac Anking, Zach Harivo, Joe Brito, Grant Stoneman, and Danny Rivera. $3 tier, Jojea Quizera, Noah Fuson, Mark Ibarra, Aime Mabika, and Karifa Yao. At $4, you can get Jackson Lee, Rio Hope Gund, Amos Shapiro Thompson, Albert Dikwa, and Frank Nodarse. And lastly, that the break the bank tier, $5 per player. We've got Koke Vegas, JJ, Clay, Aldair, and Maxi. And I think we're gonna reveal your lineup first, Andrew. If you want to talk through how you built your team here.
Yeah, we'll go first, and then one more shout out here is that you need to pick one goalkeeper, so you can't not have a goalie. I'm guessing if Matt Hands did this, he would just pick 4 Franklin Darcy's and just or 5 Franklin Darcy's and just deal with whatever happens. But you do need to go. All right, so I'm up first. So here's what I went with. I went with a 2-1-2-1 formation, and my thought here when I was building this out was that I wanted to make sure I am secure in goal, and up top I have someone that can bag goals. So right away, the second I saw this, I was like, I don't care what it costs. I'm getting one of the top 2 goalies, not Will Meyer, and I'm getting JJ Williams. Given the fact that Jackson was a little bit cheaper, I ended up going with him. I really debated Koke just because of his distribution. And when you're playing 6-on-6 in terms of outfield players, I think that distribution could be key. You're also playing in a smaller field, and Jackson's good in his own right, especially with his hands with the distribution. So I felt really good about having JJ up top and Jackson Lee in goal. This is when things got really difficult. You did a really good job of picking out these values because I kept going back and forth because I was looking for the values, and I saw, all right, Noah for $3. I'm like, that's a great value. I have to put him in here somewhere. And then I kept going back to, who'd be really fucking awesome at this game? Clay, because Clay can just do everything. He can be your guy who finishes. He can be your guy that plays defense. He can be your distributor. I needed to have Clay in the center of the field. Plus is my favorite player. I needed him there. So right away, I went with JJ up top, $5 player. Clay Holstead in the middle, $5 player. Jackson Lee in goal, $4 player. So I'm down $14 out of my 21. So I'm left with $7 to fill out the rest of my team. I can see shock on your face. I don't know if that means we're similar or not. Yeah.
Dude, you absolutely boomed me. Keep going. You got my ass. Keep going.
So then I started to look at the back, and the best value on this whole board is Hugo Bacharach at $1 because he is going to be tremendous. He's the only player I think that we haven't seen play outside of Will Meyer, and he's just going to be a phenomenal player. For $1, I'll take him back there on defense. The other defender I really struggled with because I really wanted to put in, at first I wanted to put in Mabika because of his distribution and his ability to just get the ball up to the forward. At $3, I had him in there originally. Excuse me. But I couldn't really make it work. I had Harival in there at one point, and then I kept going back and forth of whether or not he would be in there. So ultimately I stuck with Grant Stolman because I do think that he would be a solid defensive player. I think of all the lines that we have here in the formation, this is tactically my weakest line, having Hugo, who I've never seen kick a ball, but I know is going to be really fucking awesome, and then Grant Stolman back there on defense. But I feel so strongly about the rest of the team, plus Clay can act as a third defender, the distribution with Jackson, with JJ up top. I felt really good about that. Isaac Anking for $3 I thought was a great value too. Him on that wing is just going to fly past people, the energy he's going to bring. And then I ended up sticking with Zach Harival. So Harival, he's not quite, it's not really a winger there, but he's not quite a right midfielder there. But I love the fact that he can very easily swap with Clay. So Clay just has this wide open role in the middle of the field to do whatever he wants. And then Zachary is going to be able to go in and fill in for him with ease. And they can just rotate however they need to, allow Isaac to just fly around, allow JJ to bag goals. JJ is going to body people. Clay's going to be pinging the ball left and right. He's in perfect position to just bang home shots left and right. I feel really good about this team, despite it taking me a few iterations to get there.
I'm so mad. I'm so mad. I heard like half of what you said because the other half of the time I was doing the math because I thought you cheated because I'm so mad that you did this.
People feel free to audit my results. I triple checked.
I did. Yeah, you can flip to mine. I'll explain.
All right, here we go.
I'm so mad. So we did so much the same. And even our philosophies were like the same. So I looked at it and I said, I need JJ, easiest $5 I've ever spent. Then I said I'll splurge the extra $1 on Koke because I think he's having a great season. And in 7-a-side, I want my goalkeeper to be able to handle the ball, and Koke is better at that. So I feel like I did the right thing there. Feeling great about that. Also had to take the $1 value on Hugo, who we've never seen kick a ball, but like you said, is going to be incredible. He might be the best defender we have.
I'm glad we're on the same page with Hugo, because we've been talking him up now all year long.
Well, we were talking again on the main Tide Talk pod this concept of the players who haven't hurt me yet this season, and he's one of them. So he's got to be great because he hasn't been involved in this mess of a season.
That's true.
So and then I also went with the Isaac and Harivo kind of double 8 role. I had him a little more narrow, but we're kind of splitting hairs at that point. Where I went wrong is I didn't see this opening that you found to get Clay Holstad into your team as well. So I somewhat early in my line of thinking took Ibarra at $3, which is another hasn't hurt me yet this season player. So I probably overrated him a bit, and I wanted a 6 for some defense because I didn't know really how much I trusted Hugo. And then I wanted Karifa, but any day of the week, if I saw that I could have swapped Karifa for, if you told me if I just downgrade Karifa to Stoneman, I could have Clay in my team. Easy. You completely boomed me.
It's funny because I think we went through the same process. I just took that last step at the end, being like, how do I get Clay in there? Like it to me, it was a must. A, because I love the dude, and B, because he can play every position on that field. He's one of the only people on the team that can play every position on the field. He can just be everywhere.
Yeah, you nailed it. So I had an alternate that I'll just tell you, like, one of the thoughts that was going through my mind was like pretty much to have, because neither of our teams really have any width. So like what I was thinking was to have Hugo be the one pillar in the center of the defense, and then you get Aldair for $5 and Rivera for $2 to play. Like, you can basically have them park it as 3 across the back, or you can have them get up and get wide, and that's where the width comes from.
Like a wing back setup almost.
Yeah, exactly. And then, Brito or King plus Harivo and JJ. So same setup, but instead of 2 central defenders, 2 wing backs and 1 central defender. Now I wish I went with that. I would have felt less bad because you just took my exact lineup and made it better.
This is fun. I told you last night as I was putting this together, you did a good job with the assignments, because going into this, before I saw the grid, I was like, I could put Rio in there because I think Rio's going to be really solid as in a 7-a-side. But you appropriately valued him at $4, and I was just like, oh, that's difficult. And then Aldair to me was like out of the question with the $5. I'm just like, for what I can get for a $5 player, like, he's good, but I can get so much more to JJ and I can get so much more to Clay.
Yeah, crazy that I'm surprised neither of us took Maxi, and I'm shocked you didn't take Mabika. I was sure Mabika was going in your team.
He was in my initial draft. Honestly, what took him out was when I just had a moment of clarity. I was like, I need Clay in this lineup. I cannot walk away from the 7-a-side without Clay in this lineup.
You got me at my own game, and I'm so pissed about it.
This was fun though. This was really well done. Again, for the people watching and listening, whether this is, I think we're going to try to post this in Reddit and potentially Facebook and on the Discord. Drop a comment, tell us which lineup wins, and give us your own 7-a-side. Let us know where we might have had some oversights, or what team could beat either of these 2 teams. But this was a fun game, so good thought by Timmy here. Look at him. He's so mad.
I'm never going to financially recover from this. I'm so upset.
So that face, we had a tailgate a couple weeks ago where we were playing some soccer in the parking lot, and I megged my son, and he's still mad about it, like, to this day. Like, if you Ryan told me at the tailgate last week that he brought it up to Will, and he was just like angry. That face you're making now is the face he makes every time I comment about the time I picked him in the parking lot in front of all our friends.
No, I was saying he had spidey senses about that, because he would be standing like 10 feet away doing his own thing, and if we even mentioned it or started talking about it, he would know we were talking about it, and he would give us a you would mean mug or come right over and shut us up. He's got a spidey sense when you're talking about him getting megged.
Yep.
So you got him good though. You got him good. Sorry, Will.
Yep. All right, so moving on to the next segment. So here we have the mailroom. So I teased this in the last episode that we did. So we want to make this a recurring segment, one of the few recurring segments. And the idea of the mailroom is just send us your questions or ideas of things that you want us to look into, provide updates on, break down. So really that first segment that we did, as Timmy alluded to earlier, really came from a question that was intended for this, but because that was kind of a bigger tactical breakdown, we broke that off into its own segment. But the very first mailroom question that we got, which came from Andrew Hill, and he probably didn't even know it was a mailroom segment at the time because we didn't have the show in existence.
He did not.
But the question was, hey, how are all of our alumni doing? All the players that were on the team last year that are no longer on the team this year. So there's 10 players that fit that criteria, and we're just going to quickly go through them and tell you kind of what they're up to, what team they're on, and how they've done so far this season. Kicking things off with Nathan Messer, who we've seen now a couple of times. He's with Portland Hearts of Pine, and he has been quite good. He's been a regular for the team, someone that's played a lot of minutes. He started most of their games, and just moving over to my notes that have all this written down. So yeah, regular starter. He's mostly been at left back, and his ratings, at least his FOTMOB ratings, have been quite solid to the point where if you look at the entire team, he is the #1 rated player on that team according to FOTMOB. He also scored a stunning free kick goal in the U.S. Open. I will show that video in a second on the next slide. He also scored another goal in the run of play from the edge of the box against forward Mason. So very well worked goal, placed it really well. And he also made a USL League One Team of the Week against One Knoxville. So he's had a solid season. I think if you look at all of the different players that played for us last year, he's been among the most successful, I think, this year. So before we kick it over to the next player, we can enjoy the really shitty footage that we have from the U.S. Open Cup game where Nathan Messer scored a very nice goal off of a free kick. Once I get to it.
Because you do know what you're talking about.
Non-believers.
This is a long-range effort. It's spectacular.
So a nice bomb from 25, 35 yards out or so. And he was excited, even though that put him up 4-0 in the 68th minute. You can see what that meant to him. It was really early in the year, and he ran over to the Portland Hearts of Pine supporters. I don't know if this was their opener. Do you know, Timmy? Like, was this their home opener? Maybe that's why there was a lot of excitement there to run over to the crowd.
I think it might have been, but I can't say 100%.
Yeah, but yeah, he's done well. His other goal was pretty nice too, and I think he's been pretty successful so far. So that's Nathan Messer.
I'm going to say Nathan Messer, not in my top 5 out of these players who I would want back this season. And that is pure anti-Portland bias, but he's not in my top 5.
That Portland kid stained him in your eyes. He can never come back.
Yep. Yeah. So moving on, Kofi Chumesi, he moved to El Paso Locomotive, who's having a pretty good season. They're 3rd place in the Western Conference, which is wild considering how bad they were last season. He's like a fringe rotational player for them. He wasn't playing much in March because he was just kind of settling in. I think in April he had 5 straight starts, which was a combination of USL Championship, Open Cup, and USL Cup. So he was kind of pretty set in the lineup for the month of April. And it looks like he's just been dealing with a knock. I'm not sure if it's the same knock or 2 separate knocks, but for most of May and June, he's really only made like 1 or 2 appearances. But I think he either made an appearance or started their game just over the past weekend. So I think he's on his way back. Again, kind of looks like his role is kind of fringe rotation player for them, which is what he was for us as well. I thought it was funny's not the right word. I thought it was kind of coincidental, like exact same thing for us last season. He didn't play, got a run of games where he was actually quite good, got hurt, missed most of the season. It looks like it's a more short-term injury this time around, which I'm happy for him. Seems like he's doing well.
I don't know much about earlier in his career, but I'm wondering if this has been a common theme for him, or if it's just these 2 years. But that stinks because it does feel like he starts to pick up some steam and then he gets hurt again. So hopefully he starts to find some ground there in El Paso. All right, so next player here, I think we all know him pretty well, and that is Jack Panayiotou. So Jack was on loan twice, as you all remember, last year. Went back to the New England Revolution at the start of the year. He might have gotten called to a bench in one of the Revs games. I don't even know for sure. It's kind of hard to tell. But he did play for the Revs too, but really only made 1 appearance for them. So naturally, he ended up getting loaned back out and went to our Derby mates there. in Hartford. And in his first game with Hartford Athletic, he scored a brace. So that was his debut. He played against the Portland Hots of Pine in the Jägermeister Cup. And he also picked up 2 yellows. So he had a brace of goals and a brace of yellows as well. So he got a red card, missed the next game. He only played 2 more matches after that before getting injured. He hasn't played since May 10th. As of the time of this recording, here we are in July 8th. So we just played against Birmingham Legion. We're playing against Indy this weekend, and then we have the double derby against Hartford. Hartford didn't play last week, so it's been about a week and a half since they last played. So he might have been in that game. I mean, there was talks that he's close to returning. So we're not really sure. It's really hard to find information on. I don't know if it's just a Hartford Athletic thing in terms of the coverage that they have or what's going on. But I found it very difficult to get an answer on where is he at in his recovery. So there's a chance we see him in one or both of these games. It's hard to say, but if he is coming back, at most he would have played this upcoming weekend. I think we'll get a better sense maybe after this weekend's games if he appeared in them, of whether or not he's close to recovery. I kind of don't want to see him because I don't want Hartford to have better odds of beating us. And he's probably, not knowing a ton about Hartford Athletic, he's probably one of their more talented players because Hartford stinks. But I'd rather not see him on the field against us next time around.
Yeah. One of my favorite Jack P comments was Tyler in Discord. He might have literally said it today, maybe it was yesterday, but he said, I didn't care when Jack P went to Hartford when I thought we were going to be good, but now I care a lot. I could not agree more. Like, I was like, let the kid live. Like, he needs minutes. Let him go to Hartford Athletic. Now I hate him so much. I want to boo him so bad when he comes, just out of spite because we're not good either.
Yeah. I think that's pretty spot on.
Yeah. So Connor McGlynn, he went to Westchester, which, like, I feel like we all sort of think of Westchester as a joke because one, their fans are AI, and 2, we beat the crap out of them in the Jägermeister Cup. But McGlynn has he's having a very good season down there. He's basically this, I guess, technically, he's the first or second name on their team sheet every single week. He's basically started and played full 90 minutes every single match. I was thinking to myself, like, he's basically their Clay Holstad. He's maybe even more important to them than Clay is to us. He has the second most goal contributions with 2 goals and 2 assists. He's their second highest average rated player on FootMob, leads the team in passes per 90, big chances created, and interceptions per 90. He's only made team of the week once, but again, can't overstate. Like, it's between him and Obregon as the most important player for Westchester. So really happy for him. Seems like, I mean, that's a tough spot. It's like he wasn't quite good enough for USL Championship, and looks almost too good for USL 1. But yeah, hope he's happy. He's having a really good season.
And we did see him live in the flesh at the Rhode Island game this past weekend. Basically, as soon as Defiance at the end of our march to the match, as soon as we walked through the gate, we saw him there getting a pretzel. So guy knows about the pretzels, and I think we all sang for him a little bit. So he was a good dude. I can't believe, though, that you put that he is their Clay Holstead. So we have a spreadsheet, Tim and I did, of just some notes that we're putting in for each of these players. I dropped in my notes, and you put in yours. And earlier today, I looked and saw that, and my jaw hit the floor, and I'm so disgusted that you would say that he is their Clay Holstead. That's blasphemous. You can't say that about Connor McGlynn and Clay Holstead.
I'm not saying he is Clay Holstead. I'm saying he is their Clay Holstead.
No, you find somebody else. You can't put Clay in Connor's mouth. You can't do that.
He's their Luka Modric.
I take that over Clay. Yeah.
You're out of your mind.
All right. Next guy, Stephen Turnbull. So a lot of you might know a little bit about Stephen Turnbull, considering that we just saw him this past weekend and he ripped us apart. He actually had the highest rated score on FOTMob for that game. So he was FOTMob's player of the match. And he had a phenomenal game. Obviously, he scored he had the assist to Adamas in that goal. But he's been, up until now, he's really been a rotational player for Birmingham Legion, which was pretty disappointing for most of the year, given the fact that, well, we don't know the story of why he left here. I think the assumption was that he probably wanted to either not play in a wingback kind of role or get more playing time. He had started to lose it at the very end of last year. Then obviously he got hurt going into the playoffs. So we figured it had something to do with playing time or the role that he was going to be in. So to have him be a rotational player where he wasn't getting a ton of minutes early on, I'm sure was disappointing, but he's picked it up. I mean, Birmingham changed their manager. I think it was right before the last time we played them in May. And after a few games there with the manager, he started to turn it around. So in the past 21, or sorry, excuse me, in the past 7 matches, he started 5 times. So in total, out of 21 matches, he's appeared in 12 games. He started 6 of them, but 5 of those starts came in the past 7 matches. So really good to see that he is starting to get a foothold in the starting lineup in that team. And he looked great this past weekend too. So obviously there's a little bit of a revenge factor that went in and coming back and playing in Rhode Island's new stadium. So hard to say if he's playing like that every match, but it seems like he's at least proving himself to be worthy of more minutes. So good on Steven. And shout out to Steven for what he does in the community and helping out and being such a good person and helping out Matt Kerwin and his son. That's Zach's favorite player. After he had their terrible events back in the fall, he gave him a signed shirt, and then he gave him another one after this past match too. So great guy, and really wish him the best with Legion moving forward.
Awesome. That brings us to the much maligned Prince Sadie. So not an end of season departure for us. He went to Charleston middle of the season. He's also found himself at Westchester SC. So he dropped down a level to USL League One. Wasn't getting much time in the early parts of the season, but since May 25th, he's basically playing every game, and he's scored 3 goals since then. So he's basically scored like every other week since May 25th. He made USL League One Team of the Week in Week 14. It looks all right to me, man. I'm not gonna lie. I watched all 3 of the goals. Looks all right to me. I wouldn't say no. I'll put it that way. I have a clip of one of his goals here. And you tell me, this is just a move that I don't see anyone in our team pulling. And I know it's League One defending, it's League One goalkeeping, but tell me if you wouldn't take a little bit of this in the team.
I haven't seen this goal yet, so let's play this now.
Kickers are way back. They'll rope this through midfield, and it's taken out of the air by Sadie. He's on the move and has a convoy with him. Cuts to the inside. Long strike of the ball inside of the right stick, and at home, Westchester SC out in front.
That was nice. I mean, he's a guy that is very fast, and he relies on that pace, and I could see that being a big separator for him in USL League One, having that pace. But that was a nice finish too. I mean, he can score from 25 yards out, but he can't score from 1 yard out. But that's a different story.
So I don't want to. We could do this with almost literally every single player on the list, and I don't want to, nor do we have time. But I just think with Sadie, he didn't have a fit in the system we were playing last season. He would have a fit in the system we've been playing for most of this season. So I'm just saying, if he was laying around, I would give it another shot.
So I can understand the Messer take, but you would rather have Prince Sadie than Messer right now?
So, yeah. Messer, I think fits better how we were playing last season, and we didn't have a use for him. Sadie, I think, didn't fit how we were playing last season, and now we do have a use for him.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm looking strictly at the players, but in terms of the system, I don't think Messer has a real place in where we're at now. But all right, I don't really want Prince Sadie back, but
I might be the only person in the fan base who does. But I'm going to say the same thing when we get to Mark Doyle, just for the record.
Oh, don't even. Oh, my God. You're going to ruin my night. Right. Gabby Owls, our special boy. So he's been a regular starter for Tormenta. He has 17 starts and 18 appearances out of 20 total matches. So he's done pretty well. Again, in case you weren't aware, South Georgia Tormenta is a USL League One team. So he's found a groove there in League One. He made the team of the week back in mid-June in week 15. In that match, he had a goal and an assist. On the season, he has a goal and 3 assists, and he's played mainly left back with a lot of offensive responsibility. So it seems like he's getting involved in the offense more, which is kind of interesting because I think where he lost his place last year is when they really needed that position to be more offensive, and it seemed like he preferred being in more of a defensive style. This probably just strikes the right balance for the setup that they play. I do think they play him in the back 5. I'm not sure if he's out in the furthest left back spot or if he's more in that closer to Central, but he's done well. I mean, he's been a regular starter there, so I'm glad for him that he's able to get that time. With all these guys, like, they're talented people, so I think wherever they landed, whether it was in USL Championship or USL League One, you just want them to be able to see that they are getting a lot of minutes and that they're making the most of it. So good on Gavin for doing that.
Yeah, I feel like it makes sense that most of the players who left were fringe players for us, and most of them are doing very well for US, or the majority are doing very well for a League One team, which makes sense that would be, they're kind of between the levels almost.
Yeah, I was going to say this at the end, but we have 10 players here. 5 of them ended up going to USL League One. 4 of them ended up in the USL Championship, and then 1 is in the MLS, which is the guy on the screen right now. But yeah, I mean, generally speaking, the ones that have moved down have made the most of that opportunity. So good for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So Morris Duggan, our special 7 out of 10 boy, who we all dreamed of coming back, but we knew, probably wasn't realistic. So this has been an interesting one. He started Minnesota United's first 6 games of the season, and since then has played very little. He's only played 1 full 90 minutes in the league since April. And other than that, it's been like, I want to say it was like 2 25-minute cameos and then 1 or 2 like 1-minute cameos where they probably brought on like a 4th central defender. So has not been playing much. He has played their 2 Open Cup games, and he started their Open Cup game tonight, which I'm kind of hoping that they get eliminated. But it doesn't look, other than 1 quick knock, it doesn't look like injuries. It looks like performance, where he's on the bench. He's making the bench, but he's staying on the bench. If you wouldn't mind flipping to the next slide, this is how that makes me feel.
On me, there's a chance. Yeah!
You're out of your mind. You're out of your mind if you think that there's a chance. Obviously, we'd all take him back, but what's the point? Like, do we need more defenders right now?
We need the best defender we've ever had. Yeah.
I mean, I'd be happy to have him, but I don't think that does anything to solve any issues that we're experiencing right now.
It absolutely doesn't. I still want it.
You still want him back.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was great. He was great. You just want him to be able to rate him a 7 out of 10 every match for the rest of the season.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, Colin Smith. This is another player that we saw this time early in the season. He's playing for Phoenix Rising FC, USL Championship squad. He's been a regular starter for them too. He started 17 out of the 20 matches that they played. He has a goal and 3 assists. He made the USL Championship Team of the Week back in early May. I think it was week 9 or so. So he's done really well. I mean, he's been a regular starter for them. He's getting a lot of minutes. He looked good against Rhode Island. We played him earlier this year. Seems to be an integral part of that team. So this was one where my big take, or one of my big takes from last year when he first came in, was I was convinced that he was going to end up taking Quizera's spot in the starting lineup. And that view that I had at Burns Stadium along the left sideline, I just saw how well he did to work up that sideline, his defensive responsibilities, movement with the ball. And I was not a big fan of Quizera, and I really thought that he was going to surpass him. Ultimately ended up being that Quizera ended up breaking out, particularly when he came back from the international break, and Colin Smith just went away. Him and Nisser just like lost all the minutes that they had been getting. It seemed like they were getting regular substitute appearances in the early to mid part of the year, and then that went away. So I was a bit down on myself that maybe I saw something that wasn't there. So it makes me feel a little bit justified in that take when I see him performing really well for Phoenix Rising and being someone who is earning several starts in this league, and not at the USL 1 level, but really at the USL Championship level. So happy to see it for Colin. He's a fun player to watch. And then finally, Mark Doyle.
Yeah, so Mark Doyle, also down in USL League One. He went to 1 Knoxville. So he basically started out the season on fire. I think he had 4 goal contributions. I want to say it was 3 goals and 1 assist in their first 5 games. Or maybe it was 2 and 2. But started out on fire. Only 2 of those were full 90 minutes. So he played like less than 300 minutes and had those 4 goal contributions, which is pretty impressive. Looks like he picked up a knock that had him out for most of May and a lot of the beginning of June. He's kind of just been working his way back into the team. In fact, I want to say his first start since that injury was just this past weekend. And in his 3 appearances since the injury, he hasn't scored a goal yet. So started off blazing hot, not sure what's going to happen going forward, but just that work that he did in the first 5 games of their season was enough to put him like really high up on their list, like joint second most goal contributions for the team, highest average FUTMOB rating of their team. And then he's leading a bunch of per 90 stats, but that might be because he hasn't played a tremendous amount of minutes compared to most of their starters. But yeah, all of his goals, or the few that I watched, were him just like blazing down the left wing. And I was like, could he? Would I?
Would you?
Yeah. I mean, because he's another one that it's such a bigger conversation, especially when you factor in like Colin Smith appears to be a very good player that we couldn't find a use for. But like, I don't think Mark Doyle fit the system we were playing last year. He was playing like the weird second striker thing, which wasn't a good fit for him. He's a winger. Same goes for Prince Sadie. Like, and I don't know if they knew. I don't even know if Kano knew what we were going to be playing last year when he brought those players on. Now we're playing a system that does use those types of players, and we're like dying for players with any creativity or like skill to take those positions. So yes, I would absolutely give him a chance there. And you should say you would too, because he'd be replacing Quizera.
Would he replace Quizera, or would it be on the right wing?
He's been playing on the left for Knoxville.
Because the way I of all the players on the team that I did my shitting on last year, I think he probably got the brunt of it or the most of it. Like, I just wasn't a big fan of him. But I do think I would take him on this team for 2 reasons. One is that when JJ went down, there was no one pushing Chico for minutes. And I think just Mark's presence alone would make it so that Chico would have gotten subbed out in some games and Mark would have gone in, or Mark would have gotten some starting minutes, just because Chico wasn't producing and he was in a bad run of form. I think that alone could have been enough to spur Chico to get back to the level that we know he's capable of playing at. And now that they're playing in this system, particularly with no in the middle, where there's kind of an empty spot in that right wing, and he did play kind of the right wing a little bit at times last year.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind putting him out there and just having him run around, because I do think, I don't know that Brito is the guy that's going to be in that position for the long run. And just having another option out there, someone with speed, someone with energy, someone that has a little bit of creativity, I would like to see it. If we're relying on him to be a goal scorer and being the guy when JJ's out, I would say not the dude. But for someone that could push Chico and be an option on one of the wings, I think I actually would take him. And I didn't have that take going into the show, so I hate you for doing that to me now that we're talking about this live.
And how far we've fallen in the last 4 months. We're both talking about bringing Mark Doyle back to fix our offense. That's really rough.
So that would be a depressing note to end on. We're just over an hour here. So how about we do a little bonus segment? For a bonus segment,
give me like one tube take.
Here comes tube talk. All right. So non-soccer related. Timmy and I are both into our TV shows and movies. So we really want to do this leaving last episode too, but we went a little bit long there. So for me, the TV shows have been a little bit subdued in the past like 6 months or 6 weeks or so. I haven't really picked up too much new stuff. I'm about halfway through The Rehearsal. I'm a big Nathan Fielder fan. I liked him back from Nathan For You, which was a criminally underrated show. I actually like that they're referencing it in The Rehearsal. So if you haven't watched Nathan For You, go and do it. He's just a very awkward genius. And The Rehearsal so far is very good. I'm excited to wrap that one up. I've watched more movies lately too in theaters, which like I feel like I went so long in my life without watching movies in theaters in the past couple of years. I've kind of been bringing them back. So the latest one I watched was 28 Years Later, which I know you saw as well. That was a great movie. I was a fan of the original 28 Hours and 28 Days Later. I think this one kind of kept a lot of the same vibe. And this Tube Talk in general, by the way, we'll try to be as spoiler-free as we can. Yeah. But the vibe was kind of very much the same. The style was the same. Really liked the story. Kind of a strange ending, but for the most part, it was a good one. So really enjoyed that one. Yeah, and then Sinners was another one that we both saw recently too. Really original movie. It's gotten a lot of glaze. It's really a top-rated movie. I left thinking it was a great movie. I think it was slightly under the expectation it went on because it was being glazed so heavily, but it was a very good movie, and I really enjoyed watching it. I enjoyed watching it theater. It was a packed house, which was great to see. It was like a Tuesday night, and the place was packed. And what I love about it was just the originality. Like we just don't have any original storylines. Everything about it was very new and fresh. So really enjoyed that one as well. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to echo, especially 28 years later. Like, loved that. I pretty much went in expecting just like zombies ripping people in half, and it delivered on that, but it was actually much more like clever and contemplative than I expected, which I should have known based on like the original movie, but because of the second one, I was kind of like skeptical, and just the way movies get made in 2025, I was like, yeah, this is just going to be like popcorn, and it wasn't. It was really good. Other than that, I think I've told you so I'm trying to watch Andor, the Star Wars TV show, and I'm sick. So I felt in order for me to fully enjoy that, I had to rewatch the prequel trilogy. So
have you watched any of Andor? Are you starting from scratch?
No, I haven't seen it.
I want to watch it too.
The first episode once, and I fell out of it.
Okay, because I like Star Wars. I'm not a Star Wars nut like some other people in Thai Talk. I do want to watch Andor. And because it's like one of the highest rated Star Wars series, so I want to watch that. So I want you to finish your thought here and then tell me if I should do what you're doing.
They're the same. The two go hand in hand. So no, you shouldn't. And their prequel trilogy is worse than I remembered. And this is coming from someone who saw them like when I was a kid and had the nostalgia with them. And I've put off rewatching them for a long time because I think I knew deep down that they would suck as bad. And my God, they're not good. So many questionable decisions. I don't even have to really get into them. I would say that the acting in particular is horrifically bad to watch, but
it's dicey. Yeah. I mean, I love like Natalie Portman in it, but that's kind of the saving grace of that trilogy.
Yeah. I genuinely think you would be better off watching Andor, maybe missing a couple of like deep lore references from the movies, than you run the risk of like not even caring anymore by the time you get through the prequel trilogy. It's that bad, in my humble opinion.
How would you rank the three in that trilogy?
On Letterboxd, I think I gave Phantom Menace a 3 out of 10, and I think I gave the next two both 4s out of 10. Because there's some good lightsaber stuff. They used the lightsabers, I thought, pretty well. Everything else is horrific.
Yeah. Darth Maul is sick.
They completely wasted him. Great character, completely wasted him in that movie.
Yeah, they needed more of him there. Yeah. I get your take there. So I'm not going to go and rewatch that trilogy then before getting to Andor.
Straight to Andor.
Yeah. Any other TV shows lately?
No, I've seen so much Love Island by being in the room while it's being watched. Like that's the closest thing I have to another TV show.
I didn't even tell you before we recorded. So I went downstairs to grab my espresso, and I told my wife, I was like, all right, we're going to be recording. And this was like at 9:00. And she's like, oh no, you're going to miss Love Island. I was like, oh, I know. That sucks. I'm sorry.
Shame. Supposedly it ends this week. So hang on.
Oh, please.
We're almost there.
That thing needs to end like really fast.
Yeah. Supposedly I think this weekend's the end.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. We'll bring the segment back every now and then. And I'll make sure I kind of get on my game with some more TV watching, but staying up to date on movies at least. So cool. Yeah. I think that pretty much is it for the show. So thank you everybody for watching along or listening along. Thank you for the contributions that you made in terms of the mailroom segment and that first segment that we kicked off the show with as well. Definitely continue to send in any suggestions, questions, comments, ideas. We've had a few ideas pitched to us as well. And like we said before, like really thankful that there have been a lot of people that have watched this and commented on it and given positive feedback there. So whether your feedback is positive, critical, bad, anything in between, please feel free to share it with us because we definitely want to hear what your thoughts are. And Any final words, Tim, before we kind of kick off our outro?
No, I don't think so. I guess because it'd be weird if I just said nothing. I'll just echo what you were saying. Like, very much humbled by the response and messages and comments that we heard. Like, something that stands out to me with like any of like plays or listens, all that kind of stuff is like there's zero like clout and like algorithm push for a second division US like B media market soccer team. So like every play or listen or comment or something that we hear is like someone who actually took the time to check something out and isn't someone who just like scrolled past it on YouTube and YouTube counted that as a view, because that just doesn't happen for this type of content. So meant a lot to us, made us want to put our best foot forward and keep doing it going forward, which hopefully we've done tonight. You all tell us, but that's all I have.
Yeah, for sure. We have some cool ideas cooking. I mean, we have a running list of different segment ideas, and like we said, please, we're happy to solicit any other ideas that you have as well. We want this to kind of be fresh every time, so don't want it to get stale. So definitely send us whatever you have in mind. So thank you for everything. Just a reminder that Tide Talk is more than just podcast. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook for your daily social media content. You should also check out the blog at tidetalkra.com, where you can find all sorts of good things. Timmy's player ratings, which put up numbers every single week. It's probably our highest rated content in terms of views. Pre and post match analysis and reactions from Mr. Matt Hand. So his Riptide report, which he usually finishes typing about 5 minutes after the game ends, does a phenomenal job with those. And then the lookout as well to kind of prep you on the opponent and what's to come in the next match. We have pre-match essentials from the GOAT, Patrick McKenna, giving you all the essentials that you need to be ready for that next match. We have my monthly Tide Chart blog series, just wrote one last week. So definitely go and check that out and hear my thoughts on players that trended up or down over the course of June. I put that out every month. My soon-to-be released mid-season awards blog, which I need to wrap up and hopefully get out within the next week or so. That'll be posted on there. And then we also have some written takes and on latest RIFC news or things that are just top of mind for any of the bloggers here in terms of thoughts that they want to get out. So a lot of good content in there. Please check it out. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch or listen. If you did listen on the podcast, definitely feel free to go check out that YouTube as well. We have the videos on there, the technical analysis, so you definitely get more out of the YouTube. But happy that you're able to take the time to listen anyway. Really appreciate any and all feedback that you have. Tell us what worked, what didn't, what were your favorite segments. The 7-a-side, send us your own. Tell us which 7-a-side was better, who would win.